Just like any other well-operated machine, we all require a little regular maintenance to keep us properly running. In a world where glitches and project failures are the norm, recalibration, technically speaking, is most time all the support we need. Today, we welcome guest entrepreneur, Rochester, New York, author and podcast host of The Computer Exorcist, Mr. Mark Anthony Arena, and Austin, Texas singer-songwriter Jamie Harris. I'm Amanda Ashley, and this is episode 55, Recalibrate. Welcome to Afternoon Cocktail. And welcoming to our afternoon cocktail stage, Miss Jamie Harris. Jamie, how's it going?
Doing all right. How are you? It's still kind of like musician morning in my world.
That's right. So you're actually in Nashville, Tennessee, not Austin, but you're from Waco.
Right. I grew up in
Right.
Waco and then I lived in Austin for 10 years and now I'm in Nashville.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear you live. I'm a big fan. I've been really jamming out to you. I know I said that earlier, but I mean it. So, what are you going to perform for us first?
Thanks. Well, I thought maybe because of what we're going to talk about today, I play a song that I wrote when I got out of jail. It's called Snow White Knuckles.
Yes, I love this one.
Thanks. Well, I never thought I'd find God here, full of nicotine and caffeine, shaking with fear, just praying for another day to stay in the clear. Well, I never thought I'd find God here. I never thought I'd draw sober breath. I always thought I'd be a wreck. Always figured I'd have nothing left. Well, I never thought I'd draw sober breath. But I gave up the cocaine, gave up the gin, freed myself of the hell I was in, and asked the Lord to keep me clean again. And the Spirit came, picked me up, kissed me on the cheek and wished me luck, and told me I could call him a good friend, my good friend. Well, I never thought that I'd move on. Oh, but I'm getting used to sleeping alone. Just one flashlight and the book of John. Well, I never thought that I'd move on. But I gave up the heartbreak, gave up the man, freed myself of the hell I was in, and asked the Lord to let me love again. And the Spirit came, picked me up, kissed me on the cheek and wished me luck, and told me I could call him a good friend, my good friend. Well, I never thought I could be free. I gave up the cocaine, gave up the gin, freed myself of the hell I was in, and asked the Lord to keep me clean again. And the Spirit came, picked me up, kissed me on the cheek and wished me luck, and told me I could call him a good friend, my good friend.
Yay! Great, 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 great.
Thank you.
Jamie, I love your candidness, throughout your music. Your music's so honest and heartfelt. When I first started listening to you, I was trying to, even before like reading into your bio and so much, I was like, I hear it's like Stevie Nicks meets Elle King. And then I read that Emmylou Harris was a big influence of yours. And I was like, oh my God, yes, that's exactly. Because I kept like thinking there was one more person that I just couldn't put my finger on. Totally her. I mean, what else did you grow up listening to?
Well, you nailed it with Stevie Nicks.
Yeah.
I got a guitar for Christmas when I was 5, and when I was 7, I saw Fleetwood Mac The Dance, which was kind of the live thing that they did in, Los
Oh.
Angeles, and I was like, I don't care if I'm Stevie Nicks or if I'm Lindsey Buckingham, but like that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And much like Stevie Nicks, I'm obsessed with Tom Petty, and I love it. I love being in a supportive role equally. I think Stevie Nicks and Emmylou Harris both equally love being in a supportive role as much as they love being a front person, and that's a huge part of my story. There's a rock and roll band I sing with in Austin called Western Youth, where I get to really let loose as a background singer, and that's like a ton of fun. So I like having both lives. But I mean, I grew up in a city where we didn't have access to a local record store and we didn't have access to like a public radio station. So the only thing that I heard coming through pretty much was from Clear Channel Radio. So I got really into 90s country when I was kind of young. The Dixie Chicks were a big deal. And then I got turned on to a lot of songwriters from Austin, or at least that have spent time in Austin, like Patty Griffin, and which became a huge part of my writing influence. Buddy and Julie Miller, that kind of no depression scene.
So Austin is how far from Waco?
Like an hour and a half, but it is a world away.
Sure. Yeah, I believe it. It's so funny. Like, I mean, I've been to Austin. I've spent time in Houston before and San Antonio, and all three places are so entirely different. But yeah. So Austin, you lived there for about 10 years, and then is that where you really started getting your feet wet with the music scene, or just as a musician?
Yeah, totally. I started playing with my dad when I was a kid, but when I moved to Austin, that's when I really started playing on my own, I guess, in a way. Although it wasn't even until 2 years ago when I started going on the road with Mary Gaucher that it was really just me alone on stage with a guitar. That has been a whole new experience. In Austin, I started out kind of in a duo, and then I was in a trio for a while, and then I started a 4-piece band that morphed into a 7-piece band by the time I left town. But it is where I was able to work with so many musicians and collaborate. Jimmy LaFave, Kevin Russell of Shiny Ribs has invited me to be a part of their thing. And I love that because I get to sing and use my voice in a way that I wouldn't necessarily write into my own songs. And so the collaborative spirit of Austin taught me so much and was just a blast.
Sure, I can imagine. There's a lot to be. I mean, people just think like, oh, backup singers, right? But I think backup singing is actually a lot more difficult in some ways, and I love, to me, that's like the coloring, of a picture, like when you could take, especially when you record your own music. I mean, and I'm sure you could relate to this, like when you're in the studio. One of my favorite things to do is to record backup vocals, and to add those harmonies and to add some of those layers and really hear your composition come to life in a way that you when you initially write it, you write it as one voice and one instrument, but then when you're like creating, you have all this liberty and free space to do so much more. Cool, great. So tell us a little bit about Red Rescue. That's your most recent release. The album is phenomenal. I love it. I can't wait to. I was telling my dad about. It. I was like, you have to tune into tomorrow's show because he loves Emmylou Harris. I'm like, you're gonna love Jamie's music. Your musical transitions, your honesty, and your storytelling is really what grabbed me. Your song that you just sung, Snow White Knuckles, that really is very personal. Can you tell us a little bit about the journey that got you to that song?
Yeah, I when I first moved to Austin, I kind of fell into a hard partying crowd, and that was a part of my normal life. I thought it was normal. I thought the way that I was drinking was normal because it seemed like everyone around me was drinking that way, but they didn't have consequences like I had, like losing jobs and getting arrested. But it wasn't until the second time that I got arrested that I was like, okay, I really want to try this sober living thing. And one of the things that really inspired me to not lose hope is music. The day that I got out of jail, I had a message from a songwriter that I recently met named Betty Sue, and she asked me if I would open a gig for her that was like 2.5 months down the road. And I said, maybe I could stay sober long enough to open this show. And so that's when I really poured myself into sobriety, and I started going to an anonymous fellowship that was really close to this venue, which is now closed, called Strange Brew. And Strange Brew was a 24-hour coffee shop that also had 5 to 6 sets of music a day. And so
Wow.
I just lived there. I was so caffeinated for the first 2 years, soaking up all the music I could. And there was a gospel brunch that they host every Sunday there that raised money for the local food bank. And it's 4 songwriters and a drummer. And they started inviting me to come up and play songs in the gospel brunch. And my band came out of that. A lot of the fans that are still with me today came out of that experience. And for me, songwriting has always been a way for me to make sense of my own trauma and to make sense of things that I don't understand. I'm not genuinely like an angry person in life, but I can put anger in my songs. It's just a massive spiritual practice of release for me, songwriting. And so as I was processing what I was going through in early sobriety, that song came out, and then I began playing it at the gospel brunch. And that's kind of what led to a series of events that led me to Craig Ross, the producer that worked with me on Red Rescue, my band. It's like everything changed after writing that song.
That's amazing. It's funny how, as musicians, especially when in your youth, being a youthful musician, you come into these scenes where you're trying to find yourself. You're trying to find yourself on one level, just being a young girl, right? And then you're trying to find yourself through music, like, I love music. I want to play music. I feel that in my soul, but what does that mean, right? And a lot of the times, like, as you're networking and you're finding your way from scene to scene, alcohol is right there in the forefront. It's what venues are sometimes paying us. It's also sometimes, it's being a part of the culture and the scene, and it's easy to go on a downward spiral. I mean, I think about how much drinking I had done in the past. I mean, I'm not sober, but I definitely think I've calmed down in some way, a lot of ways. But I thought about that when I didn't realize sobriety when we initially made the connection. You said, Amanda, I don't know if this is like a drinking show, and I kind of feel bad about that, because in the past well, no, not trying to like make you feel bad, but like I don't really think about that because initially the title of our show came from, I like to think of it as like a cocktail of thoughts. There's so many ingredients that go into this show, and 90% of the times I'm drinking a mocktail. But a person that brought it to one of our guests that brought it to my attention was I had a recovery company come on to our show, Rock Recovery, and their fitness. But he just brought to my attention, like triggers and a whole slew of things to be aware of when inviting guests on. And yeah, so I'm happy that you were still able to be on our show and to dismiss that.
Oh,
But addiction and sobriety is obviously something that's, personally affected your journey, and in turn, recalibrating, you've come a long way and you've found so much beauty out of what was maybe once a negative experience.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so,
I've
oh,
learned
go.
like I guess it was like 2015 I got invited to the Woody Guthrie Folk Festival in Okima, Oklahoma. And I grew up in a school where they did not teach This Land Is Your Land in school. And so I didn't know a lot about Woody Guthrie. And once I discovered his world, I discovered that there was like this whole roadmap of songs that taught us how to teach or to talk to the folks, to sing to the folks, to be the music of the folks. And something about discovering that made me realize that, okay, like criminal justice system, I personally believe that the American criminal justice system is incredibly flawed, especially when it comes to dealing with people who are struggling with addiction, with substance use issues. And but I'm never going to be the folk singer that's going to write like, like let's come together and smash the criminal justice system and give peace a chance, all the things that, I was like, I don't know, that world is not my world. But I knew that connecting activism to music was important to me. And I didn't realize until I discovered exactly Woody Guthrie's work, like the power of just a story. And I realized that there was power possibly in just sharing my own story.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of being a songwriter, right? That your story is your own, but to the listener, to somebody who's just seeking, that ear candy or to suit that moment that they're going through something, and what you've gone through is something that many other people have gone through, and to relate with an artist who to be able to have a song grab you like that. I mean, it speaks magnitudes to certain people, and what you're doing might help somebody get through a time that they're struggling to get through, so I think it's really a beautiful trade in the end. I mean, what would you say has been the most sobering part about being sober?
Wow. I think that's a difficult question, but it's a great question. And I just think every day that I remain sober, I learn so much more about myself.
Yeah.
And all of that is sobering. All of that is like things that every day, it's like a little piece of the onion gets peeled back. And I discover things about myself that I truly didn't know and that I don't think I would be able to deal with if it wasn't for sobriety. So it's hard to pick one particular moment because it feels like a constant. It just feels like the more I work on it constantly, the more is revealed and the more I have an opportunity to change and to be a better person. And that's all
Yeah.
humbling. It never ceases to be humbling.
Sure. I mean, what has your journey like? What self-awareness do you think this has all brung you? Like even, musically too.
Yeah, one that I'm not alone and that there's so much power in that I don't have to be on an island isolated, that there are, like we talked about with music, there are other people that understand what I'm going through and how my brain operates. And when I feel like I'm going off the edge, I don't have to just walk off silently on my own. I can call somebody, and that's been really great. Um, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about like to get off the sobering part of it. I mean, you've done some really incredible things. So you and Mary, your partner, you had toured with her. Was it a year ago that you were talking about that you guys toured Italy, correct?
Yeah, we've toured Italy twice since I've been with her in 2018 and 2019, both in October.
So what's it like to be working? Do you guys sing together?
We do, yeah. I open for her the shows, and then I play guitar and sing harmonies with her.
That's so fun. Man, I would love to see that. And you guys live stream together as well?
Yeah, every Sunday at 2 o'clock, we normally have a guest. This week, we're bringing on a legendary Texas songwriter named Butch Hancock. And we'll have Peter Case later in the month, who was one of my favorite songwriters, Ray Wiley Hubbard in November. But we do it every Tuesday from Mary's page, or I'm sorry, every Tuesday, every Sunday at 2 o'clock from Mary's page.
Good stuff. So, I mean, what was your favorite part about, so Italy was really your first, I think I read this, that it was your first stamp on your passport. What was it like to get out of the country and to not only get out of the country, but to play music and to tour play music somewhere new like that.
Oh, it's incredible. I just one of growing up in a semi small town, I wanted to see the world, and I think I always had a feeling that music was going to be the vehicle to get me there. Like my songs, or if I worked hard enough, that music would take me where I wanted to go. And so it kind of felt like the first sense of exploring that. Like, yes, like here I am, like I'm touring, I'm really on tour. Like I got on a plane to go to a gig, you know? But it's incredible to be outside of the United States for so many reasons. One, you know, Italy isn't primarily bilingual, but
Mm,
we play these songs, and Mary was playing, touring a record of songs that she co-wrote with veterans and their families. And
okay.
we would play these songs, and what I got a deep understanding of on that particular tour was that the experience of war is so universal. It crosses, I mean, it doesn't matter which war you've been affected by. If you served, if you're a spouse of someone that served, if you have a family member that served, which country you served, it's that pain, that trauma is so real and it's universal. And then at the end of each night, at every gig, we would play This Land Is Your Land. And even the primarily speaking Italian audience would sing in English, This Land Is Your Land. And
Isn't
we sung it in the UK, we've sung it in the Netherlands, and people all over the world respond to that song in a really powerful way. And that was very cool to see too. But just the experience of seeing a culture that isn't that wasn't my own, was pretty, it was really good for me to understand that, to see how other people operate, how other cultures operate.
did it give you the itch to do more and to travel more?
Absolutely. I actually have a record deal in the Netherlands. So
Oh, wow.
May, I was supposed to be over there touring. They just released my record in the Netherlands last week. But you know, the virus, where I'm not going over there right now, but I am in communication with people there, and it's an exciting thing. But yes, I definitely have the bug to go play. You know, it was really interesting being in the UK or being in Italy or the Netherlands. I'm a huge Towns Van Zandt fan. I have a tattoo of Towns Van Zandt on my arm. And when these people from these other countries would see that tattoo, they would want to tell me, oh, I saw Towns Van Zandt in Germany and blah, blah, blah year. And this is what happened that night. And I'm just as much of a fan. Like I'm really fangirly. And being able to talk to people from all over the world about Texas music really blew my mind. Those connections. Oh, you want to talk about Butch Hancock? I love that. Let's do that. You know?
Yeah. I love it. Did you learn any Italian while you spent time in Italy also?
I did
Or
not.
any other languages have you picked up along your journey?
No, I can say like grazie and prego, enjoy, and that's about it, unfortunately.
That's okay. I mean, I know I was saying earlier that we were in Italy for like 10 days and I learned some of it. And I mean, in the northern parts of it, everybody like spoke straight up Italian. It was actually really difficult to get around because I didn't have the time beforehand to like really do my study and do proper studying. But we somehow made it through. We got ketchup sent to us when I asked for sauce. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was interesting.
yeah, we tour with a wonderful violin player named Michele Gazic, who is from Italy, is from Bergamo, and so he is able to communicate, which is extremely helpful. But
Sure.
I definitely know we're going to be, when this is resolved, that we're going to be in Italy a lot more, and I do think it would be respectful to learn the language.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. Next time I plan on traveling like that, I'd like to give myself more time to, brush off that Rosetta Stone. Um, so, I mean, so all your touring plans have been put on hold for the moment. How has live streaming, I mean, now we're talking, today's like a tech show, right? So technologically speaking, I mean, what's the world of live streaming like for you? I mean, are you enjoying aspects of it? I mean, it definitely connects you on a different level with your audience and your fans, even abroad. Do you feel that?
I do. I initially was very afraid of it, because I just have a phobia of video stuff.
Mhm.
I'm not great at it. But I had a lot of fun learning how to do it. Like, okay, if we're going to do it, I really want to learn how to do it well. And so that's been a lot of fun. I spent about a month with three other friends of mine in Austin who were also, pivoting at the beginning of the pandemic, and we all continue to share information and help each other. But I do love that, yes, we can hit this button. Like, I think there's a gentleman from Sweden watching right now.
Yay. Hello, Sweden.
Right? I mean, how cool is that?
That's very cool.
I wouldn't be able to reach that many people from all over the world with just a live gig. I mean, there are things that I really miss about playing live, but this has really expanded my view on how to connect with people and how to share my music in a way that I'm not sure that I would have jumped to before the pandemic, but now I plan on doing this even after.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely think there's been a lot of beauty. I mean, obviously, all of us musicians really are itching to get back live and to be performing for actual human beings face to face. But there is a beauty to all of this, and I think, especially as a songwriter, now I mean, I don't know how it was back. I mean, you're probably obviously playing more of your original music, but here like for me performance wise, like I was doing a lot more cover material and then throwing my originals in there. And now I feel like, well, you know what, like what do I have to lose? Like I might as well just play all my original stuff and people either tune in or they tune out. But I'm finding more people tuning in, and the curiosity is there, and I feel more comfortable like, just talking about my music than I did before. So it's kind of a good primer for when we go back, how to delegate yourself on stage and to not have to kind of shed that fear of just, you know what, I'm going to be myself and this is who I am. Here's my music, take it or leave it kind of thing, you know. What has you most proud and excited about Red Rescue, your album?
Well, that was my first record. I've been playing since I was a kid and I never put out a record. So just accomplishing that um, felt really, really good. And I needed a producer that could take all of these songs that I had from many, many, many years and help me figure out what was going to tell a story and what would fit together sonically. And I really think we pulled that off. I think we accomplished that. Craig also inspired me. There were two songs that were not written when we started the record. I think we ended up recording 16 or 17 songs for the record and 10 made it. And so I'm glad that he taught me, even though you've got these mountain of songs, you still don't have the right songs. You still need two more. And he gave me the time to really make sure that that happened. And so as I still consider myself like a folk singer, even though I know sonically the record isn't exactly traditional folk music. But I love the experience of listening to a record from beginning to end. And I wanted that experience. I wanted that record to be that experience. And I think we accomplished that. And as a fan of sitting physically with albums, I wanted the album art to really tie into the story. And I think we accomplished that in a time when a lot of songwriters are moving towards a single um, strategy. I didn't want to do.
Yeah. I totally agree. I love the whole album, like a concept album too, like I love just the whole ride of I miss that actually a lot because yeah, like you're saying, everything's basically like it's very single based right now and it gets things out quick. I mean, as an artist, it's great to not have the pressure of having to record a full album and to be able to put something out, that's new and fresh. But I think there's something definitely said for what you've done and to feel like you've put out a body of work that is representative of that time and how you felt and the mood that you're looking to accomplish overall and not just through one song. And you've done that exceptionally well. And I really highly recommend all you guys listening out there to please go check out and download Red Rescue by Jamie Harris. It's a great album. I love it. Depressive State, I love. I know that was one of your singles.
It was, yeah, it was the single.
Yeah,
We had incredible music video. There
I
was
saw it. I love it.
so that was
Yeah,
really
and you guys could find that on YouTube, right? I saw that on YouTube
and on my
and on
website.
her webpage. Yeah, which is
It's jamieharris.com, JAIMEE Harris, HARRIS.
awesome. Jamie, thank you so much for being on our show and for being so candid and for your time. And we're going to hear one more song from Jamie towards the end of our program. So before I bring Mr. Mark Anthony Arena, I just want to give a shout out to our show sponsors. This is Afternoon Cocktail, our third season. And if you're local to Rochester, make sure you check out the Charge Card guys. If you have any questions regarding accepting credit card payments, they're located right at the Main Street Armory here in town. Thank you to Compere Rochester for all your support in our community and in our program. And if you need to get in your Wednesday night pizza orders, make sure you get it through Salvatore's Pizzeria here in Rochester. Mark Anthony, how are you?
I am awesome, Amanda. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for being on the show. It's really awesome to have you. And, technically, I thank God for Beau because he helps me out on the technical end of the show. But I'm just as clueless as probably most of your clientele. So, could you tell us a little bit about you and a little bit about is it technoscopy? Am I put-
Technosophy, like technical wisdom.
That's what I thought. Okay, cool. Tell
So,
us a little bit about technoscopy and what it is that you do.
so unfortunately, I won't be able to underline my sentences with guitar strumming like Jamie did. That was cool. That was really cool. I feel like I'm on one of those late night talk shows where the guests get to tease each other. So, well, when you said clueless, that brought up a really huge point. All of my clients are intelligent, successful people who are intimidated by technology. So they all call me up all day long. Hi, Mark. I'm doctor, lawyer, president, so and so, and I feel stupid. And I say, hang on a
Okay.
second, wait a minute, wait. There's no reason for you to feel stupid. It's just not your field. And unfortunately, my field has a tendency to intimidate people and become more and more and more complex. It's actually becoming increasingly complex right now. And there's a lot of guys who unfortunately enjoy the fact that they hold that over you and that you depend on them, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It's just like, for me going to take my car into the shop, like when I was thinking about recalibrating, I keep going back to cars and computers, and I think that the intimidation factor is huge. You are so right because it's something that I'm not really totally knowledgeable about, and I rather pay somebody who is to take care of my problem. Just fix the problem, right? Is most of the time that's what we're coming to you for. But there's a lot of stuff that's so over our heads that we're investing our trust in these people, right? To take care of our problem. But there's a lot of stuff that you've notated and bullet pointed in you recently released a book, right? And one of your bullet points is, how people are taken advantage of, like they seek out people that aren't as knowledgeable and that are very vulnerable and visibly vulnerable, and they are taking advantage of that opportunity. Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Sure. And you hit on so many good things there. Imagine if your mechanic talked down to you or made you perform the maintenance on your machine. And unfortunately, that's what I saw in this industry. Um, and so the reason why I wrote this book is because I was just so frustrated with what I saw in my industry. So I got out of RIT. I went to an all boys college in Rochester called RIT. After I got out, I didn't know what to do with my life. And I was at my dad's cousin's sister's best friend's house setting up a computer for her because I'd always done tech support for friends and family. It was always my hobby. And my girlfriend at the time said, "Hey, you're good at explaining stuff. Why don't you do this for a living?" So I said, "I want to do this for a living." And she goes, "Well, while you're broke, you might as well." And I've been here ever since. And it's been 10 years now. So all of the frustrations I've seen in this industry where normal, successful, intelligent people have been taken advantage of, again, by condescending guys who unfortunately, the people we trust, either they're out to get us or they don't know how to protect us. So I talk about, so what I've done with my career over the past 10 years is I've done in-home tech support for seniors, and we've done a comprehensive approach, right? We don't make you lug your 50-pound machine and drop it off at my office for an indeterminate amount of time, right? We come to you in home, and very little of it is repair. Very little of it. Right now, it's more setting things up for people, recommending brands that are safe, managing your digital life, right? Billions and billions of people forget all of their passwords every day. So I'm going to get my next license plate is going to say password, because 99% of my income is helping seniors reset their password and then telling them you have to write it on a real sheet of paper. Well, I didn't have a password before. My last guy I don't know, he didn't have. No, you need to have your passwords on a sheet of paper. Clearing up a lot of myths and legends and rumors. So I do a lot of that in the book. Passwords, for example, a lot of computer guys tell you have to have a long, crazy password and you have to change it every 15 days. And no, that actually creates a lot of chaos and intimidation. Keep your password simple. It doesn't matter. It's more, the number one problem is you forgetting your password. That's what actually matters. So everything I do is about simplification, making it solid, reliable, simple. And my goal is that you don't need me for 3, 4, 5 years.
So, speaking of passwords, like in a world where everything's like password protected, right? But everything is like daisy chained to the next. Facebook's a great example of that. Where you could log in through Zoom, through Facebook, or you could log in through Facebook or whatever. But I mean, there's obviously hackers out there. There's people that are infiltrating Zoom meetings. I'm fortunate that hasn't happened yet. But I mean, how could we choose? How could we better protect ourselves? Or choose passwords that are not so obvious, or that we're going to remember. I mean, do you have any recommendations?
Oh, so many. So, and this is just tip of the iceberg. The answer is keep everything simple for consumers out there as well as the designers of this stuff. Unfortunately, the answer is right now make everything complex, right? So certainly in your example, don't depend on your Facebook to log into your Zoom or depend on your Google to log into your eBay or whatever it is. That's a terrible idea. It creates confusion. Keep everything as simple as possible. The designers love adding billions and billions and billions of features. So in my book, one of the many examples I use is Jenga, right? If you remember playing Jenga as a kid with the blocks and you pull them from the bottom and put them on the top. So you make it less and less stable fundamentally, but you make it bigger. Computer guys, designers of these products love adding billions and billions and billions and billions of features that nobody wanted while making it fundamentally unstable. So it's as far as keeping safe, just use brands that are safe, right? Like Yahoo, AOL, Hotmail, those three they're hacked on a daily basis, right? And it has nothing to do with you. They love blaming the user. Well, you should change your password because we were compromised. In reality, the bad guys walk right in the back door and take everything all at once. So it's nothing to do with you. Stop putting the fear on the shoulders of the consumer. I have a diagram in the book where it's a castle and there's all these guys guarding the front door of the castle, but the bad guys are coming in the back door.
So what about like LastPass? I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with that. Like is that a good place to
Password
start?
managers are okay. Eventually they're all going to be broken into, but no one's going to break into a sheet of paper in your drawer. That's really it. And people, I just keep my passwords in my phone. Well, that's going to get lost or stolen, or Apple's going to deem you unworthy of having that account anymore, and you're going to lose all that. Real paper. It's the only way to fly.
I kind of, I always feel like a grandma, like, with that thought of like writing things on paper. But I think like in a way, like, so I had my phone stolen in Nashville years ago. And I just realized in that moment, I went into complete panic. I had all my videos, it was my GPS to get me. This is when I was touring, like my first like tour. I was, I was like, oh my God, there goes my GPS. There goes all my videos, my pictures, I mean, luckily Google backed some stuff up for me, but all my telephone numbers, like I realized like, holy crap, I don't remember. I know like 2 numbers. And if these people don't answer me, I'm screwed. I also like, I just realized how much I relied on technology to just do all that for me, and now, especially, this was like 6 years ago, but now we're talking everybody's passwords, their bank information is on there. So that phone gets lost. How open, everything is out there for that person to infiltrate if they choose to. It's really scary. But ever since then, whenever I go on a long trip, I actually keep in my car a paper of like numbers and numbers of important people, or certain important information. And it's in my glove department because I'm fearful of that again. I hope it never happens again, but
Right, and you're
it's,
protecting yourself, you have a little redundancy. Yeah, too many
yeah.
people are completely dependent on a device, and most computer guys, that this is another huge key point, is backup. Most computer guys don't understand how to do a backup. Blows my mind, right? It goes back to the fact that the people we trust in a lot of cases have no idea what they're doing. I mean, I thought that a computer guy would know how to do a backup, but 99% of the cases I go into someone's house, hey, do you have backup? No, my guy said I don't need it, or my guy never mentioned that. Or my guy told me that I should buy a new one pretty soon because my old machine is dying and I'm going to lose all my stuff. And I said, look, if you had a backup, it doesn't matter because all computers die at any age. Why should you live in fear? So I'm one of the few guys in the world who can do a real, proper, verifiable backup. Where verifiable is key, because a lot of guys just say, oh, just plug it in and it'll work. No, we do a verifiable backup. So if anything happens to your machine, or heaven forbid you get a ransomware, it doesn't matter at all. You have your stuff backed up properly.
Even like external hard drives, like that's something I honestly I don't have an external hard drive. I know my boyfriend Beau does, and he's really good about backing up all his stuff. But yeah, it's so true. Your computer dies, and there goes everything.
Everything.
Like everything that's on your computer. I have so much music from my old computers that it's like little snippets that I recorded. That is probably just gone. It's in the dust right now, but because I didn't back things up. But you don't think about it till your computer crashes and you're like, oh no, like I just lost everything. So
Exactly.
and they're not that expensive either, right? Like how much is an external, like?
Yeah, anything besides Western Digital, any other brand is safe. And they're maybe $50, whatever. And as
Yeah.
long as you do a drag and drop, don't ever trust the automatic backup. That's it.
Interesting.
And it has to be in your computer and the backup drive. It has to be in both places.
What do you find is the most common issue among like the general consumer that they're coming to you for?
Aside from the
The
passwords
password?
and the backup, there's another humongous issue, especially this year, is Wi-Fi. So there's a scandal called the combo box, and I do this every day, all day, every day. People call me, hey Mark, my Wi-Fi doesn't work, my internet's really spotty in my house. Okay, great, let's see what's going on. And what's happening is your internet provider will oftentimes give you this combo box, and it's a router and a modem together in one box. Instead of two boxes, you have one box. Okay. But combo box cuts your internet connection by 90%, crimps it so that you have constant problems. It only works from maybe 10 feet away. I've been in plenty of people's homes where their TV was 11 feet away, 12, 13, whatever, and they can't watch Netflix. Okay, what's going on here? So I discovered it was the fault of the combo box. And so our local cable company, for example, gives you an incredibly powerful connection, and they better for $75 as their new minimum price. So you're paying a lot of money for a powerful connection. It could power your whole neighborhood. But oh wait, why do I have constant problems? Again, if you have a combo box, that is your reason why. It cuts your signal by 90%. So people call me up and I sell them a real router. A real router, you plug it in, and then you tell your internet provider to turn off their combo garbage, fake garbage Wi-Fi, and then you never have a problem ever again. That's it.
Interesting. I mean, you had and going back to like technical support and just kind of being taken advantage of. What are some red flags we should be on the lookout for, and how can we prevent ourselves from becoming victims of just being taken advantage of?
So in the case of Wi-Fi, the two unintended hazards that happen are this. So you have terrible Wi-Fi in your house, you're trying to Zoom, you're trying to do school, you're trying to whatever, stream, Netflix. So you call your cable company, and none of them have ever heard of the internet before or ever used it, and they have about 12 minutes of training. So they're reading from a sheet of paper and they say, ha ha, sir, ma'am, you don't have enough internets. Ha ha, you need to buy more internets. So they crank up your internet bill to $200 or whatever it is, and you still have problems. It can't actually solve it because the combo box cuts you by 90%. Another hazard is your brother-in-law comes over. And apparently a brother-in-law is someone who comes over and puts junk equipment in your house. So people every day, my brother-in-law put a repeater in. So your brother-in-law comes over and puts a wireless repeater. But if your signal has been weakened to begin with, then that can't help you. So I always say, if I'm in your front lawn and I bend your water pipe so that the water coming into your house is only a trickle, if your brother-in-law puts a second or a third faucet in your house, does that help?
No.
And there you go. So I see a ton of this stuff where, so I actually, I have a business degree. I don't have a computer degree. And as such, I come at this from a consumer's and from an ethical perspective. And unfortunately, there's little to no ethics in my industry. I see stuff like this all the time where it's very simple to fix, but most guys out there have ancient training or they're trained based on myths and rumors and legends. Another huge hazard is virus scans. If your computer guy tells you to do a virus scan, it means he has ancient training from the 90s. Viruses have not happened since 2011, traditional viruses.
What? So, okay. So all these like antivirus stuff, like what is that? It's
Totally
just
useless. They're excellent at wasting your time and wasting your money. I mean, when was the last time you saw an actual antivirus product on your computer tell you they had an actual virus? I haven't seen it since around 2011.
actually, I mean, I feel like I've seen it more recently than that, but I guess it has been maybe a little bit since, I mean, well, since I've had my new computer. So maybe like 6 years at least.
Right. And there's
But
dudes
yeah,
out there charging people $100 a month to do a virus scan like it's 1991.
crazy. So tell us about, you're also a podcast host and radio host. Can you tell us a little bit about your show, The Computer Exorcist, which is a great name, by the way. I love that.
Yeah, thanks. It's so yeah, I wrote the book and I did the show in an attempt to bring awareness. I care more about bringing awareness to the world than I do about making money. And so I talk about in both the book and the show, I call it the 4 new threats. And we go over the 4 new threats that have replaced viruses. There are 4 threats out there, and they are either legal threats, like spyware that your printer company puts into your machine when you buy a printer, or they are emotional threats, like when you see a scary message on your screen that says, warning, you have Trojans and your bank account is hacked and all that. Those are purely emotional, so no virus protector can protect you. Or the unstoppable stuff, like the ransomware and all that stuff. So I set out to make people aware of this. I started the show. The main show is The Computer Exorcist Show. I've been doing that since 2012. And I'm on AM, FM, live stream, and podcast through the station called WYSL here in Rochester. If you're in Rochester, Thursday nights at 8 on 92.1. And also I made a show called The Computer Exorcist Bonus Show, where we go in depth and we talk more detail about technology and society and all that. And if we have time, I'd love to talk to you about your recalibrating. I have a good story for that.
Can you tell us now?
Yeah. So yeah, my main show and my bonus show, all of it is available on thecomputerexorcist.com.
Great.
And so that's easy enough. As far as recalibrating, I badly needed 2020. I feel bad for anyone out there who's suffering, but I badly needed it because I was out there for 10 years working 12-hour days, driving around town, fixing people's machines. You know, I fixed your machine, you don't need me for 5 years, but then you tell 10 friends and they tell 10 friends and it blew up and it blew up. And over the past few years, I wrote a bunch of training documents, and I'm starting to franchise my ideas. So I'm licensing my technology to other independent technicians out there. So that way I don't I don't micromanage you. I'm not your boss. I just teach you and you pay me and that's it. And then you go out there and you're fully independent. Um, and I badly needed this time to recalibrate. I needed quiet time where people left me alone so I could work on my training documents, work on some other projects, work on my personal life. It's this new thing I grew this year called the personal life. And
Me too.
yeah, and I'm taking walks, getting in shape, and just focusing on what I want to do as a person, because I realized for so long I was just this machine who drove around and worked all the time. And I had to remember I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a friend, I'm a godfather, I'm an uncle, and that's what's most important.
I feel the same way. Like this was the first summer where I didn't work myself to death and I felt like I actually enjoyed being human, and I think, for all that, there's been a lot of darkness, I'm not going to dismiss, what this all has been, but, there's been a lot of light too. I really firmly believe that. And it's really force us all to recalibrate, hopefully, and to really just kind of take a hard look at ourselves and realize that, maybe it's not worth it to work ourselves to death. There's so much more to life. There's more to create. There's more to do. There's more time to spend with the people we love. And that is, it overrides money. It overrides like just trying. Like we're all getting by as best as we can, no matter what. And I don't know, it's really pulled that into focus for me too. So I'm happy to hear that the mental recalibration has done something really positive for you as well. And
We're
hope
working
for,
smarter, we're
yeah,
doing right. I'm doing the show and more of this media stuff thanks to you, instead of just driving around helping two or three people.
yeah, definitely. Time is the one thing you can never get back, so making the most of our time while we're here and the most of our days is really what we all should be striving to do. Mark, can you tell us where can our audience, find your book, and where can they find out more about you and your services?
So yeah, if you go on any bookstore in the world, it's How to Protect Yourself from Your Computer, with real relatable people on the cover. How to Protect Yourself from Your Computer, and that's also available on my site, which is thecomputerexorcist.com.
I love it. Thank you so much for your insight and for your time. It's really nice to meet you in person. Well,
Thank you so
virtually.
much. Yeah, thank you.
No problem. So, Miss Jamie Harris, could you close us out with something rad?
Sure. Man, my mind is just blown by all the stuff I learned just now. That was awesome, Mark. Wow.
It is good. It is good stuff.
Yeah, well, talking about pivoting this technology, I'll close with a song. I started writing this 3 years ago, but it wasn't quite right. And at the very beginning of the pandemic, I brought in my friend Graham Weber through the magic of Zoom, and we finished it. I've been co-writing with people from all over the world. I'm writing with a 14-year-old incredible pianist from Glasgow, and
Wow.
this was so great to connect with you guys today. And Mark, I'm so buying that book and checking out your podcast. That is so great, and I'm telling all of my friends.
It's good
My
stuff.
partner's gonna love that. Anyways, we had a password battle last night actually, so it was very. Love is gonna come again. Maybe when you're not quite looking. Maybe tonight, my friend. Maybe when you're driving, love will call and you will fall into a place you never thought you could fit in. Love is gonna come again. I know you don't believe me yet, stuck inside your head, wondering what you could have said. In that bed, love will find you and remind you of the things you thought you'd give up feeling. Love is gonna come again. I know it hurts like hell right now, and only you know how. No one can tell you when. Oh, but love is gonna come again. Lying in your sheets alone, hiding from your telephone as it echoes through your empty home. No way of knowing if you'll have anything close to what you had then. Love is gonna come again. I know it hurts like hell right now, and only you know how. No one can tell you when. Oh, but love is gonna come again. Joy will find its way to you. Maybe it'll come with the morning dew, right where those flowers grew and butterflies flew. And on their wings they always bring the kind of peace to ease your grieving. Love is gonna come again. Oh, love is gonna come again.
Beautiful, Jamie. I love it. Thank you so much to Jamie Harris. Make sure you guys do yourselves a favor and go check out Red Rescue, her album, and so you could download it on Apple Music, I'm sure, and all outlets. On Spotify, you could jam out to her as well. And check out her website, jamieharris.com. Thank you to Mark Anthony Arena. Also, make sure you go pick up his book. I already forgot. Mark, help me out here, please.
How to protect yourself from your
Thank you.
computer.
That's right. Okay. How to protect yourself from your computer. Make sure you go check out his book. And if you are in need of assistance, he is local to Rochester. So make sure you reach out to Mark as well. So today's theme was recalibration. Here's my thoughts. Making those important adjustments doesn't always have to come after our vehicle has broken down. It all begins with the recognition that something is just off balance. Because naturally, our tires will wear incorrectly in places and become unaligned. So see the signs and get to the root of why you are feeling off balance. When we have a clear picture of what the root of the problem is or what needs to be altered, we can begin chipping away at what needs to be revised, edited, or maybe even eliminated. When we recalibrate, we restore and refocus our priorities in effort to repair what has fallen short of performing at its utmost potential. In order to keep ourselves protected, secured, and running stronger than ever, we must seek to strike a balance between our goals, our values, and emotions. So take a moment to reflect on which areas in your life need a little alteration and grant yourselves that extra love and attention your life deserves. A new and improved you awaits. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode. This was episode 55. Afternoon Cocktail is now available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Google Music, etc., etc. Please download our previous shows and do some catching up. And in the meantime, we will be back here with a brand new broadcast this Friday, and we will see you soon. Thank you so much to Beau Productions, Compeer Rochester, Electronic Merchant Systems, and Salvatore's Pizzeria, and to all our Patreon sponsors. You guys have a great day. Thank you.
Recalibrate.